Today I'd like to give you an overview of some new features that are available for KipwareXC, which is our G-code conversion software. And they have to do with file insertion as well as line insertion. If I take a look at the profile options available inside of XC, I can see we have a new button here called Insertion Options. If I select this, there's two types of insertion that you can do automatically through KipwareXC. One is just a line insertion, and the other one is a complete file insertion. So with the file insertion, you can take a text file that you have prepared, and you can have the contents of that text file automatically inserted as the G-code gets converted. And as with the line conversion, we have a trigger code, and then either the specified line that you want to have inserted, and you can insert that line before the line where the trigger code appears, or after the line where the trigger code appears. And we have three just line insertions, and we have three file insertions. So again, it works the same way. You use a trigger code, and then you specify the file that whose contents you want to have inserted into the program. And again, you can insert those contents before the trigger line or after the trigger line. So with these new options, we have three choices available where we can do some insertion of contents that just a little bit more than just a search and replace, that we need to have complete contents of files inserted, or if we have just lines that we want to have inserted. And I'm going to give you an overview. I've got a sample program that I'm going to look at, and what we're going to do is we're going to build a profile using those new options as well as some of the old options inside of KipwareXC to kind of give you an idea of the power and the scope that KipwareXC has available to the user. So we're going to build a profile, and then we're going to do some file conversion using the specifics that we put into the profile. So I've prepared a simple file that was actually written for a hide-and-hide control, and what we want to do is we want to convert it to a FNUC format. So I'll kind of outline some of the things that we're going to set up in the profile. One is this G93 line. We want to make that a G54. So this is kind of like a G92 where we're setting the 0 through the programming code, and what we want to do is we want to change that to a G54. You can see that we have a MO6 line here, but we don't have any line before it to return the head to the tool change position. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the M6 as a trigger code, and then we're going to create a file that's automatically going to put a line, G91, G28, Z0 line before that M6 command. You can see that we have this G81, which uses a B instead of an R value, so we're going to change that B to an R. We're going to take this G79Z0, which is the cancel command, and we're going to make that a G80. So here's another one. We're going to make sure that the M6 is the trigger, and we're going to insert the line. You can see G83 here uses a B and K, which on a FNUC control would be an R and a Q. So we're going to change those two. We're going to look at the I's and J's, which are absolute coordinates. So circular interpolation has absolute I and J, and FNUC controllers use incremental I and J, so we're going to change that as well. Then we're going to take out this G22 line. We don't care about the contents; it's not relevant to the FNUC control, so we're going to take it out completely. So those are some of the things that we're going to do. We're going to create a profile in order to do that, and specify those conversion options that we want inside the profile. So I'm going to create a profile inside of XC. I'm going to use a mixture of the macro language that is available in KipwareXC and the complete line replacement values that we have here. So there's a couple of complete line replacements that I want to do. I'm going to increment this up one, and I'm going to tell it that every time you see a G93 line, take that line out completely and replace it with a G54. This could be a whole line of information, but in this case we're going to replace it with just the G54. The second one is every time we see a G79, which was the G79Z0, which was the can cycle command, we're going to take that G79 line completely out and replace it with the G80 line. And the last one we're going to do is the bottom of the program had a G22 and an N, some kind of variable. We're just going to take it out, and the replacement line is going to be blank, so we're just going to take the line out completely. Now we're going to do a couple of the conversion options using the macro language in KipwareXC. And the macro language uses one one of the things we're going to use here is just the star command to break up the command. So what we're going to tell it is every time you see a G81, and G81 kind of acts like the trigger, there's going to be a B on that line, and we want to take that. We want to take the G81. We can leave it as G81, but we want to make the R a B. I mean the B. The B and R. So basically, what this macro says is we're going to look for all the G81 lines. Replace the G81 with a G81, and on that line, when you find a B, we want you to place it with an R. The same thing is going to happen in the G83 line. We do have a B there, but we also have a K there. And what we want to do is we want to replace it with the G83 is okay. We want to take the B, replace it with an R. And we want to take the K and replace it with a Q. And one simpler one that was in there was M13, started the spindle, and we want to replace that with MO3. One of the things that we want to do is a circular interpolation, and basically what happened there is we had absolute I and J, and we want to make those incremental I and J. So I'm going to select this. You can see we have a whole bunch of circular interpolation options that you can use here. We can take an R, make it incremental I and J and K, or some other ones in here. In our case, we want to go from absolute I and J to incremental I and J. And now we're going to go into the insertion options. And what we want to do is we want to look for an M6, and we want to replace, before that we want G00, G91, G28, Z0. So we want to send the head home. And we want to insert this before the trigger line. So every time it finds an M6, it's going to throw this line in up above it. I'm going to save the profile. I'm going to save it to my temp folder. And now we're all set to load that profile and convert this test file. Okay, so now we're going to do some file conversion. So I'm going to browse, and I'm going to select my test file, and then I'm going to load my primary profile, which I just created, which is in my temp folder, which is my test profile. And if we look at this profile, you can see that it's got everything in there that we had specified. We've got our circular options. That's going to take the absolute I and J, make an incremental I and J. So now all I need to do is hit the convert button, and since this is a milling program, I'm going to hit the mill convert, and the program gets converted. You can see that we took this G93 and we made it G54. We took the M6 trigger and we put the G91, G28, Z0 line. We did the M13 and we converted that to an MO3. We took the G81, which has a B as the R plane, and we made it the R plane here. We took the G79 Z0, made it a G80. And again, here's another M6 where it inserted the line, another M6 where it inserted the line. Here's our G83, which we made into an R and Q. Before it was a P and K. And then if we take a look at the I's and J's in circular interpolation, you can see that they're now went from 22.1 to I0, so we have absolute I and J's in the original program were converted to incremental I and J's in the converted program. And you can see this G22, we took that line out completely. So we set up the profile, we used some of the new features in XC, which is the line insertion, and we could have very easily inserted complete file contents using that option. And we did some G-code conversion. So let's take a look at the new features in KipwareXC, and if you'd like to see the software in action, you can definitely contact us at the numbers shown on the screen, and we can set up a live demonstration, and we can show you the software in a little bit more detail as how it would pertain to your G-code conversion requirements. Thank you.